It's the Exit 52 podcast presented by Jimmy Seafood, back recording on a Wednesday night, November 8th, middle of fall. The footballs are flying. Basketball is back. The vibes are high. We're talking Uncrustables pre-show. We're talking hats. We're talking mustaches. We're talking local sports radio drama. We're talking about it all. But now we're live. It's Taylor. It's Arditti. It's Banks. Fellas, as I said, football and basketball back, but I think we need to talk about Uncrustables first. An air fryer. Put them in the air fryer is your thought.
Pop them in the air fryer. I can't remember the instructions off the top of my head in terms of timing, but Google it. It'll change your life. It's phenomenal. And also had the idea pre-show of, marshmallow fluff and peanut butter sandwiches are fantastic. Why hasn't Uncrustable come out with that variety?
It's a great question.
I ask for good questions. Nothing but good questions.
Yeah. I love Uncrustables. They're so good. I've had them all.
What was the line? You don't start discussions. No, never mind. They're the dialogue. That's a little callback to never mind.
Wow.
You lost me there.
Yeah, that felt unbelievable.
The conversation you
don't like Uncrustables, though. Eric, you don't like them. You're not a jelly guy, you stated about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like them. I've never had. I don't like jelly. I'm not a jelly person, so it's not like I'm like.
It is preposterous.
What do you act first on a nice charcuterie board? Like, what is your angle there?
You think I've eaten off a charcuterie board? You think I've?
It's a great point. I should have expected this.
Come on, man. Come on.
We're such a man of the people answer there.
Yeah. Whatever salami or pepperoni, if there's something like that. That would be what I would go to first.
As opposed to me, who only eats off charcuterie boards.
Finer Things Club.
Finer Things Club. Gentlemen, let's talk about some Baltimore sports here briefly. We're going to talk a little Ravens, maybe talk a little Terps hoops. Not much Orioles to discuss. Do starting five draft, do Nik Caner-Medley, and get out of here. So let's start with the Ravens. And Arditti, I'm going to start with you. You were not on the instant analysis Sunday. You can go back and listen to that. Me, Banks, and Spenny broke down a big win against the Seahawks. Gave a lot of our thoughts on that. But Arditti, you sit here in this podcast in an interesting spot during Ravens season because you don't root for the Ravens. So you have none of the sort of fandom anxiety or hope that goes along with analyzing the team. So from your perspective as someone that roots for a very mediocre AFC team, what do you see from this Ravens team right now and what's the ceiling?
Generous.
I mean, I think they're really fucking good. Like I said it I think last week or whatever, where I got the score wrong. I said it was going to be 21-7 at the end of the first quarter, but I was like, the Ravens are going to smoke the Seahawks. Like I think it's going to be like a Lions where it's like, oh, they're not ready for this yet, and it seemed like the Seahawks were not ready for it. They seemed to want no part in that game, and they were out of it. And when the Ravens got rolling, it was like, again, Seattle wanted to be anywhere but on that field. They look like the 2019 Ravens, where it's like the last. I mean, what was the game before this? Arizona, which is a funky game with their travel schedule and all that. But this in the Lions game, this is back to absolutely punking the shit out of other grown men football teams. Like the Lions coming in was like the big bad Lions. Here they are. They're tough. They do this, they do that, and the Ravens just absolutely just clown them. And that's exactly what they did with the Seahawks. And I think they're a very good team. I think if they're not better than, I would make the argument that they're better than the Chiefs right now. I don't think the Chiefs are anything special at this moment. And the Ravens have been way more impressive the last couple of weeks, even with the kind of, again, the weird game in Arizona. But again, what do they won 4 or 5 in a row now? And they're just chugging along. And again, you look up and they're 7-2, I think. Haven't even had their bye yet. And again, the big thing with like everyone being like, oh, well, my fantasy team in Lamar and he only has this. And it's like, that's the scary part is they're playing so well. And Lamar's playing great. They just don't need him to do anything. Like, it's not like he's playing bad and the defense is scoring a bunch of touchdowns in the running game. Like, he's not going to play these full games because they're just kicking the shit out of other teams. So that's a great sign for them. And again, it's 2019 all over again. It looks like, and the running game isn't as good as it was, but I mean, they obviously have the weapons in Mitchell, and Gus Edwards is, I said to my friend on Sunday, I said, Gus Edwards is turning into like a Lendale White kind of guy where it's just like, you're going to look up and he's going to have 15 touchdowns and like 900 yards. and you're just gonna be like, yeah, that's just a solid ass like running back. Like, and we've known about him for a while, obviously, and he's had his seasons, good seasons. But yeah, they're if not the best team in football, 1B, I guess. I don't know. I mean, again, it's an interesting schedule coming up, but they're rolling right now. They're rolling on in all phases, and again, it's scary if you have to play the Ravens coming up, because this is kind of where they hit their peak, is like the cold weather, the bully season type of football. So they're playing really, really well, very well.
That was a lot of information, but that's all true. Yeah, no, I thought we broke it down very well on Sunday. In terms of some differences of where this team is versus 2019, Spencer very much on point with the idea that that 2019 team told you what it was going to do and did it, and you couldn't stop it until eventually just some bad things happened and they had to chase their tail a little bit and it just went sideways. This team will fill you out, and then they'll figure out, okay, you're giving us that. We're going to do that over and over and over, and you're just going to bleed to death. And with that, the defense is better. This is the best defense we've had since maybe 2006. Roquan is the reason for that. I wrote about that a little bit on Barstool today. He's the difference maker. And I really feel that if Lamar doesn't get hurt in the back end of that year, we're really hitting our stride. The Bengals, go down in the wild card round. I don't know what kind of run we go on. I think it's ambitious to think that we go on and win a Super Bowl or even go to it. But at the same time, I think we go into this year with a totally different perception of who the Ravens are. And this beast has been inside of them for a long time. And I think they've just needed a little bit of attitude. And Roquan is the guy bringing that attitude. And no disrespect to like a Marlon Humphrey, who's been probably the leader of this defense for 3 or 4 years. Love the guy. If he's physical, he embodies Ravens football. But I don't know that he's the guy in the room who's going to galvanize a group of guys or the type like a Ray Lewis that is in the middle of the defense, kind of being the like patrol man in there and bringing in the play call and making sure everybody's in the right place the way that Roquan is. So exciting to see all the pieces come together. And you make a great point that we're probably operating at 80% of our capability. Like Lamar is playing obviously very well. He's throwing the ball awesome, but he hasn't needed to go out there and cook. And it's, I suppose, a concern that you could say, just like that 2019 team, that they haven't had to chase their tail yet, and we may not see them do so. And it's a little bit hot takey for, to go out or into a game and hope that they get down by a couple of touchdowns. But I don't know, like, would it be the worst thing to see them go down a couple touchdowns to somebody? Hopefully it's not one of these next few games, but I don't know. They're just so multi-dimensional, and we have not even had to see whether or not they have even more dimensions than what meets the eye.
Yeah, I mean, not having to have Lamar Jackson play hero ball in any of these games has, I think, both, as you said, limited his fantasy numbers, but also hopefully the wear and tear that we've seen him go through the last few years. I think that's a positive. But, I think the storyline of 2019 was just the offense. And to me right now, every time I think about the team, I think about defense. I know it's like very fun to talk about offense. And I think as Ravens fans or people that have followed the team for a while, having great offense is fun to talk about because of so many years where the offense just could not keep up with the defense. How good the defense was almost a boring topic. This is sort of just a return to form to like the traditionally strong, front to back defense that the Ravens have had. Propelled by a lot of guys that obviously Roquan Smyth and Banks, you made great points about him. And ever since he came, it feels like they've gotten to another gear over this sort of season, maybe a full season with his year, half year last year and half year this year. But like the Justin Madubuikes and the Geno Stone, some of these guys they drafted, in the mid-late rounds that have sort of developed into these type of guys. First of all, shows you that, Eric DeCosta is still as good of a team builder as there is. And just it's just very, very, they're very nice stories to watch develop. I agree with you that it's like hot takey to be like, oh, let's see them down a couple of scores to hopefully come back. But I do think they're eventually going to be in a game over this stretch where they're in a dogfight or fall behind. I mean, there's too many quality teams left. Like The Browns are a pretty quality team, albeit with not a great offense. The Bengals have sort of started to round into form a bit. The Chargers have a good offense and could theoretically get ahead early and have you chase them. The Jaguars are one of the six best teams in the AFC. The 49ers are either the second or third best team probably in the NFC, although they faltered a little bit, but are still going to be tough to play at home. And they play the Dolphins back here, who have a pretty good offense, although they've started to falter, and the fraud label is starting to get lumped on them a little bit. There's not really any gimmies, like huge gimmies left. Like the Rams were not very good. That should be a pretty easy game, and the Steelers. But other than that, all these games are going against teams that are all fighting for playoff spots. I ultimately think, like in a game against the Chargers, that's going to be a situation where John Harbaugh just outcoaches a guy like Brandon Staley. But I think they're going to probably put themselves in a number of positions or maybe they're in a tight one or whatever. I don't know if they're going to just steamroll through this schedule. I think they steamrolled through those two teams that came in here from the NFC that are okay, but I don't know if either of those teams are really ready for like prime time. I think your 49ers and your Bengals and your Jags have been around a little bit more. Like the Jags kind of took their lumps last year and are trying to sort of make that ascension. I think that's kind of the year that the Lions and the Seahawks are having. So all that to say, it's unbelievably exciting. Every person, in the office in College Park this week that's a Ravens fan, everyone is like so excited. It has that same sort of like train leaving the tracks, rumbling down that 2019 had in terms of you go into every week. Like me and my roommate used to sit and watch the 2019 team and they'd go up 14-0. Be like, all right, game's over. Like whatever. What else do we need to do with our day? This team is doing a little bit of that without the same explosion, but I think it's a little more sustainable potentially with how they're playing defensively. And the AFC playoffs could be unbelievable. The NFC looks terrible. The AFC playoffs are shaping up to be. This Bills team that was supposed to sort of be one of the creme de la cremes doesn't look like one of the best 6 or 7 teams. They can't really get out of their own way week to week. But man, there's a lot of pretty quality teams. I did want to touch on, because I thought this was interesting. I think you tweeted this, Arditti, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here that you tweeted this. I think it was during the Germany game where you were just like, every NFL game stinks. Did you tweet that?
Yeah. It is. It's like everyone stinks.
In a world where it doesn't feel like I'm talking about teams that are good relative to all the other teams, but the Ravens feel like one of maybe the Eagles and the Chiefs are the other two that feel like they could be actual juggernauts. There's not a lot of like, yes, the Jags are good. Yes, the Bengals are good. Yes, the 49ers, who I think we thought was potentially a juggernaut early in the year, sort of come back to earth. But you just don't feel scared of anybody at this point. And that's like a kind of dangerous place to feel on November 8th when there's so much to go. Like there's so much season to go. And some of the wonder of 2019 was like the fact that every week was like a new Lamar Jackson thing. And now the expectations have been raised. So it's like, it's more stressful and less like wondrous to a certain extent, but it just feels like they have the ability to maybe run through this thing for a while. And that's both exciting and somewhat stressful. So
yeah, I think it'd be interesting to break down what that definition of a juggernaut is, right? And I think that definition comes into play when you look at a football team and you're left scratching your head as to how to beat them. Like there are some good teams there, like the Bills probably fall in that bucket. The Bengals probably fill in that bucket where it's like, hey, when they're on, they're really fucking tough to beat. But you kind of have an ends to a means, like you understand where they're vulnerable and where you could beat them. The Ravens are looking like one of those teams, and you could say some of the same about the Chiefs. And I think I mentioned on Sunday the Eagles looked a little lost in the sauce there down the stretch against the Cowboys. But you scratch your head as to like, okay, like if those guys are just playing their game, I don't know how you beat them. And so, yeah, that's the vulnerable piece is what's the weakness? Where could we be vulnerable? You try to think of those things and you come up grasping at straws. And it's really just like that, what we've kind of talked about a couple times now. Like, what do we do when we're behind and are forced to throw downfield? And there's not a lot of indications that we won't be able to do that when that time comes.
Yeah, if anything, some of the like enhanced Lamar Jackson stuff we've seen from the pocket makes you feel like he's more ready for success from that front. I also think that, and you said it on the instant analysis, Banks, this number 1 seed is absolutely gigantic. Like, getting the AFC Championship game out of Kansas City is an enormous task for this Ravens team. Like, they have got to get that done. That is going to, this is the easiest analysis of all time, but playing the AFC Championship game at home is going to be so much better of a situation to try to rip it out of Kansas City's hands than having to go there and win at Arrowhead, which, as we said, Josh Allen played about as good of a football game as you could have played and couldn't get it done down there at one point. So I think they have to have that. I don't know what they do in terms of going game to game or looking at goals, but getting that number 1 seed has got to be high at the top of the pyramid right now. And you can't drop some of these random games in the middle of this. Like, you can't go to a Rams and lay an egg. They've got to, like, keep pace with Kansas City, and that'll keep, these guys motivated and ready to go. I mean, you want to get in the position where you can play that game in Baltimore, and with Kansas, I think Kansas City is going to be that, obviously, the most likely opponent. You want to bring Mahomes in here where they've had some success against them. So
you're saying the goal is to bring Taylor Swift to Baltimore.
Can you imagine?
I mean,
what an absolute scene that would be.
That's a tough predicament for you guys. She's gonna be so upset.
No.
What if she cries?
That's sports, baby. She got involved.
Okay, I'm just when the pictures and videos come out of, like, ugly crying, her and Brittany Mahomes, and she writes a song about, like, how bad Baltimore is.
I would love to. I can pop up to the Swift chat about it.
I'd probably blow it up on a poster.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle her.
Look, Taylor knows a lot about heartbreak. She knows what it looks like. She'll be okay.
Not her first rodeo.
No, not her first. Thank you. Well said. Mm-hmm. When we look at this game, we can look forward a little bit to this Browns game. This feels like a situation where if the Ravens just get out and run even a little bit, they're going to pretty much take control of the game.
Yeah, the Browns are good, but do they have the weapons to even really keep up with us if we're playing our game? Quarterback situation was pretty rough when we played them in Cleveland. It was as much of a non-game as I can remember in terms of, like, this team just has no threat. It's kind of like watching Tommy DeVito with the Giants right now.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just going to run out this clock and be on our way. They've got a little more juice this time around, but I don't even think that 28-3 score speaks to just how badly we beat their ass last time. And I mean, it needs to be said, like, in the trenches, across the board, take the quarterback play out of it, we did wipe the floor with those guys. Just outmanned them, out-physicaled them. We'll do it again, especially when we got the crowd behind us on Sunday.
Again, that was a game where the Browns did not want to be on that football field. I get it. They didn't have their starter, and that makes things a lot worse. But, again, the Ravens just seem to do that to teams now. It's going to be a fun defensive game, I think. Both defenses are very, very good. You had this stuff with Myles Garrett this week too, and he was kind of mixing it up and chopping it up a little bit. But yeah, it should be a good one. I told my buddy, I said, I think I'm going to bet Ravens defense anytime touchdown. Like, there has to be a strip sack coming. I think this week, a big pick six or something like that. I said it to him, I think during the Seahawks game, I was like, they're just flying around. Like, it's something like that is going to happen. So it's should be an interesting one. Deshaun, man, he's just up and down every damn week. You really don't know who you're getting. And I'm happy that the Browns broke the NFL contract system just to get the guy who is, a mid quarterback right now. Like, I hope it was worth it, because now you're stuck with, a guy who I don't know, half the time is like, does he want to be there? Does he not? Does he want to play football? So yeah, it should be I think the Ravens not roll easy, but I think it's a pretty handily sized win.
So I did go back and look at the 2019 schedule just to get a sense of, like, when did that team really send the message or, like, turn it on and take off, and when did you really know that they were great? And, like, Seattle is when your ears got perked up. That made them 5-2. It was really when they kicked the teeth in of, wait for it, Deshaun Watson 41-7 at home against the Texans, who were a good team at the time. That's when I really was like, this team, that's impressive as shit. And then it was the 2 weeks that followed. I can't remember who the next one was, but the one after that was the Rams one on Monday Night Football, which was the ultimate, like, yeah, we're fucking good and we know it. And here's the entire nation to watch it kind of game, which is what I'm hoping for.
And then they played the Rams in that ugly, like, rain-soaked game when the 49ers.
49ers, yeah.
In a very good game. We went 13-3 there. So, yeah, I agree with you, Arditti. I think this will not be like a domination that we've seen in the last 2 home games, but this feels like I agree with you both. This feels like a game, like Banks said, where I just don't know if Cleveland has the firepower to get through this defense on a consistent enough basis. Then unless the Ravens play ugly like in Pittsburgh and turn it over and do weird stuff and drop a million passes, just doesn't seem like a path for Cleveland to win. It feels like a 24-10 type of game.
Took my score prediction, so
yeah.
But by the way, I'm looking back at this 2019 schedule. So you mentioned the Seattle game, 30-16, they won. The next week, do you remember what that game was?
It was a bye week, and then what?
Bye week, yes, bye week, and then November 3rd, Sunday night. Patriots
37-20. Yep. And that was another big sign. And then it was like,
then it was Bengals at Bengals 49-13, 41-7. Then they won. I forgot. I completely forgot. 41-7 and 45-6 back-to-back weeks. That's incredible. That's crazy. Yeah.
That entire run is insane, and it is so bittersweet to think and talk about. But in terms of a ride, I guess we could take a step back here as well. It is so easy for any of us or at least any of us Ravens fans, to fall back into this timid, like, we're good, but like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Fucking enjoy this, man. Think about how fun that was in 2019, as blissful as the ignorance may have been of what was down the road for us. I mean, I've said it a billion times, that Titans game is an all-time, like, fluke. Like, all the right things happen for one team and all the bad things happen to the other. And I mean, that's football sometimes, but I have said a bajillion times, if I could take back that same Saturday night divisional round game, we win that game 98 times out of 100. And that was one of the 2 times we don't. So enjoy this ride, expect great things, and speak it into existence. And this time, maybe it'll be different, but I'm not going to sacrifice the fun that is the ride for the next 2 months because I'm still crying on my soup about 2019.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a different team, different situation.
People are definitely, it seems like they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's like, yeah, this is fun. But when this happens, and again, it's like, I mean, we did the same thing with the Orioles. Like, oh, well, when they start slumping, it's like, you can't be a fan like that.
I was going to say, if you consume stuff waiting for the other shoe to drop the entire time, you're never going to be happy because only one team's happy at the end of the year. Like, if you play it that way, like if you see as everything like is in that final of a terms, that if it's not a Super Bowl championship, then man, you're gonna be miserable as a fan. You're gonna be miserable as a fan. And for Ravens fans, you have enough consistent winning and the 2 Super Bowls in your pockets for really anybody that's rooted for the team, other than people that are really young that maybe not like that are like 9 or 8. Like, you've seen enough success where you can't be like, you're not like snake bitten like a Bills fan. I mean, where it's just like you just expect it because it's always happened that way. So I said 24-10. Any other score predictions? A little old school X52 score prediction situation. What do you guys got?
You got to piggyback off
25-12. I wonder if that's a scoregami.
Probably. Yeah, has to be. I'll say 30, 31-17 Ravens.
Sounds about right. Let's get to our starting 5 draft presented by Fed Thrill. You can use the promo code EXIT52 at checkout to get 20% off your Fed Thrill sunglasses. Many local styles, support a local business that supported us for a long time now. Fed Thrill's been with us for a while. I was thinking about that the other day. So very much appreciate their support. I still need to figure out a way to get prescription Fed Thrills. That's like, I keep thinking knowing I need to do that, and I just have not done it yet. At the suggestion of Mr. Jake Louque, who's not on this show, tiredness hit him at about 6:30, so he dropped out. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Questionable due to tiredness.
Just load management.
Load management.
That felt more from Jake, more like, yeah, I thought about coming on. I'm just trying. You guys can just run it. I've already done my 2 podcasts this week. We're going to do sports, or I did not decide to get sports meatheads. We're doing meatheads, which Banks stated that he is in a state of mind to talk and discuss meatheads right now. So who knows what that means?
Guilty.
That's what he said. Banks has the first pick, appropriate considering that statement. Arditti, you have the second pick, and I have the third pick. So starting 5 draft presented by that Thrill Meatheads. Take it away, Banks.
I think there can only be one pick if we're going with actual real people. I'm sure you people are going to throw in some movie characters, and that's fine. I'm here for that. But it's got to be Gronk. Gronk's the ultimate meathead. It's so clear. Can I just take the whole family? Can I just take all the brothers?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
It's just meathead central over there, and they're Buffalo based, so that just like feeds into it even more. Just one of those like, yeah, that checks out type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Just in every way, shape, or form. I even think about that evil laugh on in the Fox studio when he's got the turtleneck on. It's such a funny clip. That one went away. Nobody really uses that one anymore. Maybe I'll bring that back. But, yeah, and it's like it says a lot that he was part of the big bad empire, the Patriots who we hated so much. And could any of us? Who among us could not like just take a step back and separate that and just be like, yeah, it's just Gronk. Like,
yeah, he never got wrapped up in like the unlikability of the Patriots dynasty, which very good Yahoo Sports article today about the downfall of the Patriots right now. Very interesting. Yeah. Good. That was the clear 1-1 pick. It felt like. So Arditti, I'm interested to see now where you go from here.
I was like, oh, maybe I can get Gronk at 2. Obviously couldn't. Great pick. I'm going Brian Cushing. Again, when I think meathead, I think of like the Hard Knocks clip. I think it was they showed it on Hard Knocks. It was like him mic'd up when his helmet falls off or gets ripped off or he rips it off or something. And he goes and headbutts the guy on the Browns, and it's just gushing blood, and it's like laughing too. Like he's a maniac as well. And he had, did he have a PED suspension? He had to have.
Yeah, I believe so.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Probably
very early in his career.
I'll check that
and
so we don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Allegedly, if you want to throw quotes around it.
Let me just make sure.
But yeah,
4 games.
Yeah, and again, like Jersey meathead. I'm pretty sure he's from New Jersey and went to. He's just one of those Jersey meathead guys, just bigger than the world. He was massive. You could even tell at USC, like this guy is going to be just an animal, and he was a crazy person on the field. And yeah, he really seems to fit that meathead kind of description. So I'm taking Cushing.
One of the interesting NFL players whose best year was probably as a rookie.
He was good. He had a decent run where he was like he may have made a couple Pro Bowls.
Listen to his 2009. This is rookie year. Started all 16 games, 133 tackles, 86 solo, 4 sacks, 4 picks, 2 forced fumbles. It's a heck of a year.
Yeah. He's a hell of an athlete. He's just. Yeah. I'm sure like that guy probably hasn't worn a shirt with sleeves on it since like 2004. Like everything, the sleeve monsters attack them every single day.
Yeah. Good, 2 good picks there, guys. I'm gonna go a little off the board on both these. I think I'm just gonna take these as they lie because I haven't had a ton come to my head. I'm gonna start with Johnny Bravo. I feel like I gotta get Johnny Bravo on my team. I think one of the great examples of a fictional meathead. Who doesn't remember it?
He would be canceled in a heartbeat now. Let's be real.
Yeah, I don't think that character plays in 2023, but God, I'm glad it played back in like 2002. Johnny Bravo Christmas, one of the great cartoon Christmas specials ever conceived.
Who was the actor who played him?
That's a
Like,
great
was it a big?
They
Is it a big
haven't
name?
done a live action version of that, have they? That's shocking. You would think.
No, that would be again. That would be. I mean, who would play him? The Don.
Now,
the Don playing
Chris Evans, maybe.
You got to be like Jack to play him, though. Who's like
I
Jack?
guess so.
Like Hemsworth, maybe, but he's probably too old.
That's an option.
Jeff Bennett is the one who voiced him. He's loosely based on Elvis Presley and James Dean.
Oh,
that's so interesting. That is so interesting. So I'll take JB, and then I'm going to go into the MMA world. I'm going to take Tito Ortiz. Just an all-time. That's another sleeves police guy. All sleeveless shirts. An absolute dope, and just the total meathead. So I'm going to take Tito.
That's a good one.
One of the legends of early MMA.
Tito is a good one. The guy who played Johnny Bravo was in Baby Shark's Big Show for 12 episodes. Lot of voice acting. A lot of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Curious George, Green Eggs and Ham. Great show. Interesting. I'll have to look this up. Oh, if you give a mouse a cookie.
Here you go. In October 2002, Variety reported that Warner Brothers had secured the film rights to make a live-action Johnny Bravo feature-length film as a potential starring vehicle for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That would have been interesting.
Sure.
That would have been interesting. RDT, give a pick.
I can't let him stay on the board any longer. I'm going Brian Bosworth. He's every article I looked up, like top meatheads, biggest meatheads, he was number one on everything. If you watch a 30 for 30 on him, again, guy hated sleeves, the headband, like the haircut, the sunglasses, just bigger than the planet. He's just epitomizes the meathead like description and persona. So I think that's a pretty. And if you don't know who he is, give him a Google. He looks like every created linebacker I ever made in Madden. So, guy was quite an athlete.
An all-time clip when he gets truck sticked by
Bo. Bo.
I think it might be Bo.
Yeah,
Bo.
I think it is. Got to be Bo.
All right.
You have two.
I do have two. Which ones do I go with first? I'm going to take Jose Canseco pre-2021-ish when Billy took his soul. Correct. Yeah. I want late 80s Jose Canseco. I want mid 00s Jose Canseco, who's making enemies with everybody out there, going on every talk show possible and just throwing everybody under the bus.
He was right though.
Was he right about? Are you talking about that?
I mean, his book, didn't everyone like? That's all true. Like,
oh, you're okay. No, we're not talking about the same thing. Somewhat of a coworker of ours was the victim of a lot of allegations from him that don't necessarily have to do with steroids. But I guess I'll leave it at that. I bet they're not true. But then again, this person and a very famous pop star / actress are no longer together. So maybe that speaks to that.
I am so confused on this.
I have no idea where we are. I have no idea where we are.
That's fine. That's fine.
Good pick. Good pick.
Thank you. I'm going to go into a sport you might not have expected to be here in this draft, but I got to take Dustin Johnson. Major criteria here for me for meatheads is just somebody who doesn't seem to give a care or have a lot going on upstairs, which I'm sure Dustin Johnson very much does. But in terms of what he portrays externally, he's about as meathead as it gets.
I like DJ.
Seems like a quiet meathead.
Yeah, like I hit ball. I go fine ball. I hit ball again. I putt ball. I win.
So for me, the golfer that I had in mind to do this, and I was going to take him, I'm going to take Koepka. I'm going to take Brooks Koepka.
That's fine.
That's where I was there. I did think about Dustin Johnson, and there are some actually a decent amount of good golf. I thought of a couple other ones you could take for this, but I'm going to go with with Koepka.
Did I get skipped?
Oh, you got skipped. Shit. Sorry.
Oh my. Oh my.
I'll take
Brooksy?
Brooke. No. If you want to go, I mean, do you just want me to go?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll wait. Unless you
All right.
want him, I won't take him. Sorry.
No.
That's my fault.
No, I'm not going to take him.
God, I haven't done that in a while.
I'm taking Big Ben Roethlisberger. He's just again an oafy kind of dumpy. I don't know, like doesn't seem like the smartest guy. I don't know, just meathead tendencies there too. So I'm taking figure out pander to the crowd a little bit and take Big Ben.
Real crowd pander. Roethlisberger was on some lists that I read for sure. He's out there. And then I'm gonna take. I don't know whether to take a character or just take the actor. I'll just take the actor. I'll take Sly Stallone. I feel like part of Sly is very meatheady. Even though I really want to watch the documentary on him on Netflix, which looks very, very good. And he's like a super talented writer and actor, so he's definitely not the typical meathead. But I feel like the perception of action star Sly Stallone is very meatheady. So I'll throw him.
I also feel like a movie about a boxer who gets his head bashed in, who just spends half the time like groaning, also kind of fits into that thing.
100%. So I'll throw him on my team as well. Arditti, I will now not let you get skipped, and I will say it is your pick.
A-Rod. I think A-Rod is another meathead.
God.
Wow, like a somewhat of a coworker.
Yeah. Oh, is that? Oh, there we go. I did not put them together. I still, Brian, every time I think about your tweet from what was this, 2014 or 15, where when the Yankees came to Camden Yards, the guy in your section would stand up and turn his back every time A-Rod was batting.
Oh, what a legend that guy was! He drove all the way out. He drove all the way from the Eastern Shore to stand in the left field bleachers and turn his back every time he came up to bat.
Yeah, that we have to find that tweet. We'll have to find that. That's an all-time, like, that's such a funny Brian story. Like, just a simple tweet. But again, A-Rod, big guy, obviously connected to steroids and weightlifting and all that. Just really seems to like love himself. He has a lot of those meathead qualities. He could have played Johnny Bravo. He could be a Johnny Bravo if we're talking about it. But yeah, he's I think he fits into the meathead category. You don't really find meatheads in baseball outside of, again, some sluggers from the 80s and 90s. But I think A-Rod and Kent Sake are two of the better ones. So I'm going with A-Rod.
Banks, you have 2 to complete your team.
I'm going to take John Rocker with one of them.
Yeah.
That's a meathead right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's your guy, John Rocker.
That's
stand-up guy.
That's Eric's guy, John Rocker.
No, I think Jake is the one who has the jersey.
Oh, good God.
That's true. That's true. I said I'm not on steroids. Well, I guess, yeah. Kenny Powers is loosely based on John Rocker. That's a fun fact for you. I can't believe that guy existed. Can you imagine if he said that stuff in like in today's day and age?
It would have been the biggest story. God. It would have been the biggest story on the planet. And it was a big story back in the day. Yeah,
it was. And then for my last one, man, who do I want to go with here? I can't get this name out of my head, so I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with Kyle Turley.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. Yeah, when I think like early 00s, late 90s football, just hucking a guy's helmet. Yeah, that's pretty meathead.
And he had the tribal tattoo on his arm.
Yeah,
that's
I can't shake him from my memory as a meathead.
I think that's a good one. It's a good forgotten about one.
That is a good one.
All right. Is it my last one? Correct?
Yes.
I don't even know if this is his name. I have not paid. Well, I've paid attention. Connor Stallions. That guy's a meathead. That guy is a meathead. Like, just gets off on stealing signs. Was he in the Marine Corps and shit like that? Like the guy just loves Michigan football more than he loves anything in the world. Like just what has he written, a 600-page manifesto? Like, yeah, he's just a meathead. He's 100% a meathead. So I also just want him to go away so bad. So bad. I hate this story so much.
It's an all-time bad story.
I can't believe it's like getting this much play. I
mean, it's the biggest. It's one of the biggest brands in college football. It's also it's also absurd at every turn. I mean, that's part of it. The absurdity of everything that's going on, I think, allows people to want to continue to follow it. It also, I mean, they're the best team in the sport right now. So, potentially them, Georgia, Florida State. I'm gonna finish with Ryan Lochte as my last.
Oh yeah,
good pick.
That's always a great pick in the fifth.
Yeah.
Always nice to get an Olympian. And that story of him in Brazil is one of the most – talk about ridiculous stories. That's one of the all-time ridiculous things that's ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Mr. Lochte.
Yeah.
Him versus Phelps.
He's just gone now, right? Like –
I mean, yeah. I mean, these guys have their shelf life and they kind of fall out of the public view unless they like do TV or something. I mean, he's 39.
He just seemed like a guy who would have a show, like a dating show on VH1 or, you know.
I think he's married.
Yeah, but he's still the kind of guy who would have a dating show on VH1.
God, I love this. This is so Ryan Lochte. During the 2016 Summer Olympics, Lochte revealed that he's in a relationship with Playboy Playmate of the Month, Kayla Ray Reid. I mean, that's perfect. That is so perfect. They've had 3 kids.
I did not see him as a kid haver.
Yeah. Lochte's mother in 2012 said that her son was too busy to be in a relationship. Everyone's been there.
Shows you, Mom.
Yeah. That's the draft, fellas. Good stuff. Banks takes Gronk, Jose Canseco, Dustin Johnson, John Rocker, and Kyle Turley. Arditti, Brian Cushing, Brian Bosworth, a couple Bryans to start it off. Ben Roethlisberger, A-Rod, and Connor Stallions. I took Johnny Bravo, Tito Ortiz, Brooks Koepka, Sly Stallone, and Ryan Lochte. There's a ton of I'm a little surprised the hockey player was not taken. That is my biggest surprise from the draft.
Yeah. I don't know who the king of the meatheads is. Like Ryan Reeves is just a dumbass.
Yeah,
Sean Avery.
Yeah, Avery was kind of small and scrappy-ish, but I guess that doesn't preclude him from being a meathead.
Like, is Ty Domi? Would he be?
Yeah, so he would be somebody I would think about, but I don't know that people know him enough.
We
know him, but
pulling that guy into the fucking penalty box.
Yeah, that was an all-time move.
That's so funny. People probably know more. What's his son? Ty Domi Jr.? It's his son's name? Is he a junior?
Max Domi.
Max Domi. Yeah,
Max Domi.
But
I've thought of a few just after I made my last pick, which I really regret. Fulton Reed and or Dean Portman. You could take either. You could add them together.
Yeah.
The you're not that guy, pal guy would have been a great pick.
Yes.
You're not that guy, pal.
Yeah.
I almost took Vin Diesel or Dom Toretto.
Familia.
Yeah. Arditti's favorite movies.
Ben Cleveland, maybe. He's just a ball.
There's a lot of linemen that could fall.
Yeah.
The Goose could have been on there potentially.
I didn't want to disrespect him, but I didn't want to get shit.
I wouldn't have drafted him.
I think it would be a proper tribute.
Yeah,
he came to
make
mind.
sure not to put him next to John Rocker. Just put some separation there.
Yeah. Should have doubled him up with Johnny Bravo. So yeah, that's the draft.
I had I thought Romanowski. I thought.
Oh yeah. You could have gone with anybody that played the guards in Longest Yard. Steve Austin, Evan Nash, Romanowski. You could have gone with any of those guys.
I had Coach O too. I thought Coach O kind of seemed like a meathead.
Sure.
I like Coach O. That would have been a good pick. Coach O would have been a good pick.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably could have thought of more coaches. Yeah,
I feel
Eric Musselman kind of seems like a meathead. The Arkansas basketball coach.
I feel like there's one that we're just missing. Like I have something on the tip of my tongue, and I don't know what or who it is.
Same. I don't feel like I've really dug into the depths of my brain on this topic.
No, someone's gonna tweet it to us, and we're gonna be like, Jesus, like we have to redraft.
Like
this
Nick Swisher.
Yeah, I guess. Like David Wells is in a meathead. CC Sabathia is in a meat. I don't know. I can't I couldn't think of like anyone in the NBA. I don't know.
Steven Adams. But he's just a menace. I don't know if he's a
like he's not a meathead. I don't know. Like there's gonna be someone. And I'm gonna be like, how did we forget
some
that?
of those kind of guys. Lambeer. Like you just think of enforcers. I feel like those things can be different.
Evan Smotrich, guys like that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of some Terps. But there was a Gronk brother who played for Maryland, so he kind of
there was a Gronk. Yeah.
Alex Wojak.
Yes,
sure.
Yeah. Wojak.
We're just thinking of white linebackers.
Yeah, we're literally Perry Hills is probably a meathead.
You know he wrestled?
No, really?
Mm-hmm.
In high school? That's crazy.
Yeah,
they never
crazy, right?
Wow.
Pennsylvania. Yeah. They never talked about that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Kurt Angle is there too.
Yeah, I almost went down the pro wrestling thing, and I was just like,
too easy.
We'll shelve that for this.
I mean, Vince McMahon.
There's so many. There's so many you could do. Like Steve Austin, you could do theoretically. McMahon, as you said, Kevin Nash, Scott. Like, there's just so many guys that are just meathead wrestlers. All right. Nik Caner-Medley, Maryland Person of the Week. I will start so we can spark a brief discussion on this. Maryland basketball returned last night, a win over the mighty Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers. Hey, the Terps are supposed to be good. We'll see a little bit this weekend as they play Davidson and then either Clemson or UAB in Asheville, which will be an upgrading opponent. At Villanova next Friday. So some good games coming up. Jameer Young's very exciting. Juju Reese is from Baltimore and very exciting. Deshaun Harris-Smith, is a very talented freshman who looked very good last night. So people should be excited about the Terps. I'm happy it's back. There's nothing like Maryland basketball when it's popping, and we got a lot of that last year, especially at home. Terps were very, very good at home. And we're going to get Arditti and his daughter out to a game this year, which will be exciting.
Yeah.
Can't wait to be out there Friday night with nobody else in there.
Just go to Looney's. It's right there.
Total jump of the gun.
Go to Loons. Harris-Smith I'm very excited about because there's some known commodities on this team. Like there's some things, some room for improvement for Julian Reese. Like, can he stay out of foul trouble? Can he fix what his free throw stroke looks like? I don't know. In terms of Jameer Young and Dante Scott, you kind of know what you got there, and that's for better or worse. But in terms of something to get really fired up about for the long term in the program, Harris-Smith is it. That's as much as we've had, right? Since tell me when. I know it's early. It's been one game.
Probably the highest ranked recruit since Sticks.
Diamond?
He was like 25. Harris-Smith was like 25. Sticks was like 5 stars, like a top 20 player.
Yeah.
Diamond's the top 20 player. Mello was like a top 30 player. So he's like in that range. The last, we had this note last night, like the last 6 or 7 true freshmen to start a Maryland game before him are all top quality. Like it's Aaron Wiggins, Kevin Herter, Sticks Smith, Diamond. No, not Bruno. Diamond Stone, Mello Trimble. Like it's like that kind of group. So it's pretty elite company too. And Maryland isn't like a bring in a lot of one and done type of program, so there's definitely less of that. But still, like those are all guys, except for Stone, who had a weird up and down year when he was here. Those are all like guys that everybody fondly remembers. So he certainly should go down, whether he's here for a few years or whether he blows up and does like the Jalen Hood-Schifino, where you are a great guard on a really good team and you end up in the NBA draft. He's going to be a very good player, and they really like Jamie Kaiser, another freshman. And then Jordan Geronimo is a transfer from Indiana, who's like a super duper athlete. They're going to be a lot bigger this year. They struggled with a lack of size and athletic size last year, and they don't have those problems as much this year. Going to need to shoot it a little bit better than last night, but it should be a fun year. So
did Mello get his jersey retired?
No.
Is that a thing? I think. Do we think he
You
will?
don't, they get honored. They don't get retired at Maryland. You don't retire.
Well, yeah. But is he going to get the jersey? Is he going to get the name in the rafters?
I mean, I have no idea.
Typically, doesn't that necessitate an All-American?
Well, this is a lengthy discussion we could have. If you go and you look at the rafters, there are some people that fall out of that category that are up there. I would put him in. Not speaking for my employer, speaking for myself. I would put him and Anthony Cowan up there, both of them. But whether that will happen or not remains to be seen. I would put both of them in the rafters, though. I think Cowan's body of work, and he won a conference title, and he had, he's up among the top 10 in like scoring, assists, games played, minutes. He had a very good career as a local guy. And then Melo was like a transcendent player who wasn't like a second-team All-American at one point, third-team.
So
I would put with some of the people that are up there. Adrian Branch also needs to go up there, but that's
insane that he's not. That's crazy.
That's a discussion that other people can have in other rooms that are not me. I mean, it's a good considering some of the people that made it. I would put both of those guys up. But I also think, we could go on this era. You could pick through everybody.
I was going to ask if Gravis was the last one to do it, and it seems like he was the last guy to have his jersey up there. I had the list.
Which is wild. That's like over a decade. To not have anybody over a program like this is wild. Yeah, I would agree.
Bosie Berger, Gene Shue, Tom McMillan, Len Elmore, John Lucas, Albert King, Buck, Ernie Graham, Len Bias, Walt Williams, Joe Smith, Johnny Rhodes, Keith Booth, Franchise, Juan, Baxter, Blake, and then Gravis. Yeah.
The two that throw it off from the All-American or whatever perspective are Ernie Graham and Johnny Rhodes. So that's where like a lot of people come to the equation, because those guys, while had great careers and did, like Ernie Graham has the single game points record at Maryland, and shout out to his son, 2010 Calvert Hall graduate John Graham, who also played at Maryland. And Johnny Rhodes was like, a great defender and whatever, but those guys just break whatever that criteria was. And I don't even know if there was a criteria at one point. So that's should put like a Branch up there. Probably should put like a Melo up there, but these are
how about Bosie Berger, who played 6 years in Major League Baseball, 236 lifetime average.
Good for him. Bosie.
Cleveland,
big
Chicago White Sox.
We've got a double B. Maryland's got a double B.
And the Boston Red Sox. Yeah, he played at Maryland from 1929 to 1932. So good for him.
I remember those years fondly.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Banks, Nik Caner-Medley. Nik Caner-Medley should go on the rafters for being named after this, for the segment being named after him. So
I would agree with that. We should get a studio one day and put his name in the rafters.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, that'd be huge. We need to catch up with him, by the way. We're due.
We lost him. He's off Twitter.
I know.
He was on Twitter and then he's off.
I think I can get his contact if we need.
We have his email. I think I have his email. I believe I was emailing.
And if we don't, I can make.
You'd be surprised. Zoom info with my new job. You can find out anything about anyone.
That's good. Bex just
all yeah. All right.
I got it.
There you go. I'm just taking Uncrustables. It's what I was going to take. You kind of broke into the Uncrustable conversation as a start there, which I don't know. It doesn't take the steam out of it because my enthusiasm for Uncrustables is that high. But yeah, make sure to give it a go in the their air fryer. Obviously, one of the all-time golf snacks. Packed a bunch of those out for an awesome weekend in Ocean State this past weekend. I mean, the weather was just out of this world. And we're going to have another one tomorrow, Thursday. Like, what are we doing here? It's mid-November, and I'm talking about the weather.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I had a gigantic connection, just disaster there. So everything you said in the last 30 seconds was a blur for me. So I have no response for that. But Uncrustables are good. That's what I have to say.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Arditti.
I'm taking the Pandas. So long to not your guys' Pandas, the other Pandas. Sorry, didn't mean to get you guys up in a tizzy or anything. But the Pandas leaving DC. They shipped them out today, flying to China. It's like a 19-hour trip. It's on.
Can I tell you this? Good. I was gonna say.
No, you go. You sure?
Sorry, I talked over you. Hit it, Arditti. I'll fill in for you after. This is becoming
like
bad.
old school. This is old school.
It really is.
They showed them like wheeling they have like these custom made like shipping boxes, obviously. And they showed them like bringing them up the walk at the zoo, and it looked like it was like a funeral. Like they were like the pallbearers, like next to these massive 800-pound crates that they were bringing the pandas back in. So they're going to China. They're leaving DC. Nothing. I love a good zoo trip. I will fuck up a zoo every time I go. Seeing the pandas is always cool. And yeah, now they're gone. They're going back to China. So thank them for their service here and enjoy the trip back.
When I jumped in and talked over you, I was gonna say the exact same thing. Watching them process with the FedEx box was one of the all-time clips I've seen in a long time. I also love that FedEx put the panda image on the plane. That's unbelievable.
I didn't see
stuff
that one.
from FedEx. No, incredible stuff from FedEx today. Good for FedEx.
I found Nik Caner-Medley's LinkedIn page, by the way. I just his photo is tremendous. It's so he's got his arms like this and he's just smiling, like has a very determined look out in the distance. It's very what's the word? Deep and introspective. Do you know what he majored in at University of Maryland?
No idea.
Criminal studies or whatever.
American Study / Popular Culture.
That is that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, American Studies.
He's from Maryland. Awesome. No one can beat him.
Speaking of the Pandas, the Panda kickball team is 3 wins away from a title tomorrow. Obviously, me and Banks talked a lot before the season. We really haven't talked about it a ton during the season. This is put up or shut up time. You got to go get it done. The Pandas do normally get it done, but none of these are gimmies. Once you get into the cold November Cup and Hand kickball playoff games, they are where legends are made, where heroes are remembered. So should be fun. 3 games tomorrow. Pandas came up just short in the Flip Cup tournament last week, finishing second. So, but those are not the boots that we focus on. We focus on the kickball boots. Those are the boots that you come for. Those are the boots that you pay to play for. So should be fun. McHenry Row. See if we can get it done.
For the kids.
Shout out to the guy who we met at the playoff game at Pickles, who said he's in your Volo League and he's on the Lobsters. But I don't think you guys play them.
Shout out to the first team of the year that we played that chirped us with Exit 52. That's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
I want those. I want that whole team on the podcast. That was fantastic.
Yeah, they should all come on. That was so good. I think they're still in the playoffs too, so we could see them. Yeah. And speaking of listeners, was walking out of Fed Hill establishment on Sunday and had a brief interaction with a listener. Love when that happens. Great to see the listeners out and about. Get out, party after the Ravens game, and then settle back in for the instant analysis right before Sunday Night Football. It's a great. That's how you spend your Sunday.
They are still in the playoffs, and they are the 6th seed, and we are the 1 seed. So that is a potential championship matchup.
Wow, that'd be something if it came all the way back around to that.
You may have
Booze
to show
on
up
first
for
up tomorrow.
Yep. 2 booze on first left, I believe. 2 versions.
Yeah, we could booze on first, and then sit on my base.
Yep.
In the final.
Yeah.
That would be something.
So we'll see. Should be fun.
Rope walk.
Let's see what before we jump up. Let's see what the forecast is looking like for tomorrow's kickball championship.
I'm telling you, it's going to be like 77 degrees tomorrow. Obviously,
70. It's going to be an interesting weather situation with 77 is the high, 46 is the low. Could have to dress for multiple potential climates tomorrow.
Yeah, the hourly.
AccuWeather's got first kick temperature at 68 for the 6:30 game, and then for our 9 p.m. game, it's more around 60 with a real feel 56. That's a potential different layer. It's like a 10 degrees difference. We shall see. Gents, that's it. That's it for this week's episode of the Exit 52 podcast. Make sure to go listen to Spenny and Jake, who jumped on the jumbo set, their weekly deep dive into this exciting Baltimore Ravens team. Lovely stuff those guys do. Spenny also put up a great film analysis up on YouTube about the Ravens offense. I hope I'm getting that right. Sometimes I forget these things and what they're doing. So Spenny does a great job with that. Obviously, he flashes the film room knowledge every week, and that's why one of the reasons why he's great on the show, but also a reason why his YouTubes are awesome. So go check that out if you have time. As I said, you can go back and watch the instant analysis as well from Sunday on YouTube, or listen to it wherever you can get podcasts. Listen to me, Banks, and Spenny break down the win on Sunday. We'll be back this Sunday with another instant analysis as well to break down the Browns-Ravens game. You can follow the podcast at Exit 52 Podcast on all of the social media channels. You can follow Eric at EDITTI22. You can follow Banks at Barstool Banks. You can follow me at Taylor Smyth 10. You can follow Jake at Jake Louque, Louque. You can follow Spenny at Ravens for Dummies. Number 4, Platoon Ravens and Dummies. Fellas, an absolute pleasure, as always, to be with you. Go Pandas, go Ravens, go everybody, as Banks' guy on that video that he puts up will say. We'll see you next time on the Exit 52 Podcast, presented by Jimmy's Seafood.